Are you someone like me who loves crafting, loves a DIY, loves figuring it all out, but you just don't have the time to do a full DIY this year? This is what I'm gonna call DIY-ish. I went to my local nursery and I got this plain balsam wreath for around $20. It's beautiful, it smells gorgeous. I usually like to make my own wreaths out of the boughs from the bottom of the Christmas tree, but that's just not happening this year. This year, I got this plain wreath. I got some boxwood from the nursery as well. And then I got a few other accessories. And today we're gonna dress up this wreath and make it look custom, gorgeous, and beautiful. So for this project, I have my plain wreath. I've got some boxwood that I got from the nursery as well. And I have some foraged pussywillow from earlier in the season. I could have foraged for some winterberry, but I didn't. I bought these faux ones on the internet. So gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Also got some dried oranges. Again, I could have dried these oranges, but I didn't. I ordered them online. Some years you can dry oranges in the oven. Some years you can buy them online. Got some cute like hammered gold bells, as well as a couple of rolls of velvet ribbon. Got some paddle wire and some snips. Wire cutters would be a great idea for this project, but I can't find them. So I'm going to maybe ruin a pair of snips. Gotta do what you gotta do for some holiday magic. So now that I have all of my supplies to make this wreath, a bespoke custom wreath of our dreams, let's get started. I think I'm gonna start with adding some boxwood, bulking things up a little bit here. This wreath looks like it's wired, so I may just take some of the boxwood and cut it down a little bit and just try to fit it into some of the wires. This just is gonna add some beautiful texture to this wreath and make it a little bit more interesting. I really love the feeling of doing some DIY and really making something feel like it's one of a kind and that it has some extra love in it that I made it. But sometimes life just gets a little crazy and we can't all make that happen. I think it's worthwhile to take the route that's going to allow for creativity but also not stress you out. So this is just adding a little bit of boxwood, kind of a slightly different color variation and texture. This really adds a lot of interest to your wreath and gives it a little more personality. I think I'm gonna go in and do a very similar method with some of this pussywillow and just kind of snip some off and pop some in around. Same thing, some more texture, some more interest. Probably not gonna do quite as much of this as I did of the boxwood, just because that's what feels good to me. Another trick is to lift up some of the boughs so that whatever you're popping in, you know, kind of blends in with your wreath. You don't want things to just kind of pile on the top. You want them to look as if they were meant to be there. There are so many things that you can probably forage from your own yard. Always make sure if you're going to forage that you do some research about how to forage responsibly. Also, ask permission. There are a lot of other rules about responsibly foraging. Please don't steal. Yeah, just go out and look. There can be winterberries, boxwood, juniper, magnolia if you live in a place where there's a lot of magnolia. I am really loving how this is looking so far. Beautiful. Next is going to be some winterberry. Again, this is some faux winterberry that I bought online, but you could always forage some winterberry or get some other berries. Hypericum would be a good berry to add. There are a few options here you can do as we've been doing and just tuck in kind of dispersed, or you could even group a few together around the wreath. So let's just see where we get with that. Again, kind of important to make sure that you are actually getting into the wires that are holding the wreath together, because you really don't want all your stuff falling out. If it's like windy or snowy or something, like that wouldn't be that fun. Something else I think is kind of important is to vary like heights. You don't want something sticking out at the exact same height as another one. So I don't want two of these berries sticking out at the same height. You want to kind of vary them like this so that they look more natural and they're not gonna look kind of awkward. Another option for this type of project would be to use the wire, which we will use the wire. So the same principles that I use the wire to add the oranges and things would be how you would get all these other accessories in. This is where we're at right now. I think it's looking really good, really fun. A little bit more my style, my vibe. Maybe we should give it a little shake to make sure nothing's gonna come out. All right, I'm happy with that. So next for me, I think is gonna be wiring up some oranges. and kind of placing them around the wreath. To wire these up, you can do this a couple of different ways. I'm just gonna take, maybe 12 inches of wire and cut that off. Please don't hate me for not using wire cutters. I really could not find them today. And I'm just gonna take the wire and kind of poke through this orange. And you could do just one orange at a time if you want, or you could add maybe a second if that feels good to you. You can vary this. I'm just gonna take the wire and I'm gonna twist it. I like a twist tie on a loaf of bread. And then you're gonna want this tail to kind of hang out here. So I'm gonna make a few of these and then we'll pop them on the wreath. Kind of similar to everything else, we're going to take our wreath and we're going to kind of pick up a couple of small boughs, decide where we're going to put the oranges, and then you can kind of just wrap this wire and twist it on the back, just like a twist tie. And then it's always a good idea to kind of either cut the wires off or tuck them in towards the center, just so when you're going to hang this or taking it off later in the season, you are not going to poke yourself. And then you're just gonna keep going with that process until you're happy with how many dried oranges or whatever other accessories you have going on. I've decided that this is the top of my wreath, and then this is the ribbon that's gonna go there. Ooh, it's gonna be so pretty. I'm excited. So you're gonna want a pretty long length. You're gonna wanna leave some extra so you have room to tie it around and let it flow how you want it to. I'm finding the middle of this long length that I cut, which is maybe 6 feet long total. I'm not always great at estimating. I'm going to, again, I'm just gonna find the middle here of where my ribbon hits. And then I'm just gonna tie a super simple bow. So I'm gonna make sure we're not around any huge boughs that we actually want to be out. Just like I'm tying some shoes, I'm gonna tie this bow. And I am trying to keep the velvet side out as I'm going along, so I'll just kind of keep that happening. And then I also want to make sure that my little tails are going to end up being down here. So before you tie it tight, you can bring your little tails to the front and make these smaller so you can tie them and have them end where you want. So it just takes a little bit of zhuzhing, my technical term here. And pulling these down to kind of exactly how you want your bow. You could go for a bigger, floppier bow or a tighter, smaller bow, kind of, again, totally up to you. And then I'm just thinking about kind of where this is gonna lie. Once I pick it up. So there we have it. It took a little bit of time, but it was definitely a faster process than making the whole wreaths from scratch. Added our boxwood and our pussywillow and layered in the winterberry and the dried oranges. Added a nice bow and some little bells. I think this is gonna look really beautiful on our front door, and I'm so excited that I got to do a craft and do a DIY-ish but also not spend a whole lot of time and effort on making a whole wreath from scratch. So if you followed along and did a DIY-ish wreath, or you really enjoy doing floral design, crafts, working with locally grown flowers, locally grown products, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, because there's gonna be more winter and holiday crafts coming, as well as some more flower farming content soon. Thanks so much for following along, and if you made a wreath, please feel free to let me know in the comments below or send over a picture of what you got up to. Bye! Mwah.